It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story.
He's going to shoot. Is that good?
Scotland's men battle to victory against Denmark to qualify for the World Cup for the first time in almost 30 years. We're live at Hampden Park. President Trump angrily defends Saudi Arabia's controversial crown prince over the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Things happened, but he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Also tonight, US politicians vote in favor of releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files. Beijing dismisses a warning from MI5 that Chinese spies are targeting MPs and peers at Westminster. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages. That is in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Hello there, good evening. We begin with breaking news, and Scotland's men have qualified for the World Cup for the first time in almost 3 decades. The Dutton Army beat Denmark at Hampden Park 4-2 in a nail-biting game. Scotland opened the scoring only to see Denmark equalise, and then a second Scottish goal was also answered. But in injury time, Scotland found another gear to up 3-2, and then came this.
He's going to shoot. Is that good? That's unbelievable!
Well, an audacious long-range strike by Kenny McLean emphatically sealed Scotland's win. But let's go live to Hampden Park and our Scotland correspondent, Conor Gillis. Conor.
Well, we have never seen anything like what we have just witnessed in the past few minutes, and I'm about to utter words that have not been uttered for almost 3 decades. Scotland is going to the World Cup. The last time the Scottish men's team managed to pull off that was back in 1998. Thousands of fans, tens of thousands of fans packed out the National Stadium here in Glasgow at Hampden to watch history being made, and what a thriller of a game it was. Everyone's shouting USA because that is where Scotland is heading for next. What was the game like? How did you enjoy it?
Absolutely frustrating at times, but do you know what? I'm going to say it here. But Scotland done the damage. Scotland done the damage. Get me goals for. What a scissor kick from McTominay, absolutely fabulous.
And you know, it wouldn't be Scotland if there wasn't drama up until the last second.
I've no fingernails left right enough at the same time. You know, 93rd minute, 97th minute, you can't beat that.
Let's chat to some of the younger fans here. Guys, was that you?
Yes, clearly everybody's on the phone calling home after that extraordinary win. We've had some reaction actually from Kenny McLean. We knew he had the ability to do it, but that late in the day makes it a wee bit special. We knew it was possible. We spoke about it in the last few days, but to actually achieve it, incredible, incredible. And then on his goal, that extraordinary audacious shot as we talked about, I thought twice, to be honest, but I thought, why not? And took a pop. Well, wonderful scenes there from Scotland. First time they have qualified since 1998. And the celebrations, as you can see, as ever, right across Scotland in the bars and pubs and inns. They will be celebrating at home too. Congratulations, Scotland. Well, also tonight, Wales guaranteed a World Cup playoff spot after hammering North Macedonia 7-1. Captain Harry Wilson scored a hat-trick as Wales scored 7 goals for the first time in nearly 50 years. The result means Wales will compete in their playoff at home at the Cardiff City Stadium. So along with England, who qualified without dropping a point, 3 home nation teams could be travelling to next year's World Cup finals, based in the United States, of course. The Republic of Ireland will also compete in the playoffs. Now, it was supposed to be a triumphant moment for Donald Trump as he heralded a $1 trillion investment in the United States by Saudi Arabia. But instead, tonight's televised White House meeting was dominated by an angry president rounding on a journalist as they questioned the Saudi Crown Prince about claims he ordered the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. The Washington Post reporter was hacked to death inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in 2018. The CIA concluded that Prince Mohammed bin Salman had approved the killing. Well, the prince has always denied the allegation, blaming rogue agents. Tonight, Mr. Trump told reporters that the prince had nothing to do with it, saying things happen and questions about it were embarrassing his guest. All this just before the US House of Representatives voted in favour of releasing the Epstein files, following a U-turn, of course, from Mr. Trump. We will have more on that in a moment. First, our US correspondent, Mark Stone, reports on an extraordinary moment in the Oval Office.
It was quite the welcome. The mounted guard of honour, the music, all of it to usher in the prince who was once a pariah. A fly past too from the jets Trump now says he will sell to the Saudis. Because that is what all this is about. In a remodelled Oval Office that now almost resembles a golden Arabian palace, the focus was money, investment, trade.
You've agreed to invest $600 billion into the United States. And because he's my friend, he might make it $1 trillion, but I'm going to have to work on him.
For this transactional president, that's all that matters. The legitimate questions about a darker history are a distraction, unwelcome, hit the nerve.
Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the
But the
worst,
question is
one of the
legitimate,
worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way, and it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc., in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that, and it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Jamal Khashoggi was a journalist, columnist, author and critic of the Saudi royal family. He was murdered inside the Saudi embassy in Istanbul in October 2018. His body was dismembered, and the CIA later concluded that the Crown Prince had ordered the assassination. His widow saw the Oval Office exchange, and she spoke to Sky afterwards.
I'm not satisfied, and I really wish I have the opportunity to meet with the Crown Prince. First, to introduce the real Jamal to him, because I believe strongly he been misinformed about Jamal. Also, I will ask for my right for compensation, financial compensation. They killed my husband, they destroyed my life.
In the years after Khashoggi's murder, the Crown Prince was outcast. The relationship with the Biden administration was tricky. But that changed with Trump's return and his visit to the kingdom earlier this year.
And so beyond that controversial moment, and it was awkward for sure, the president wanted, almost needed this news conference to focus on the economy, because this is a time right now that the president is feeling huge pressure from his own side on issues like the cost of living and of spending too little time on the home front. And so he needed to remind voters in America that having the Saudi Crown Prince here is a good thing, because Saudi investment in America is important.
The president's approval rating is the lowest it has ever been. And now his supporters in Congress think he's losing his MAGA way. On the face of it, images like this don't help.
Well, Mark joins us live now from Washington. So an angry president rounding on the media, seemingly defending a man accused by his own US intelligence services. Quite a start to this visit.
Yeah, rounding on the media, no change there. I think we've got a real reminder of his relationship with us. Not only that, but the fact that he scolded the reporter there for asking a legitimate question, and then went on to effectively dismiss the murder and dismemberment of another journalist. Who and his own CIA, remember, from a few years ago, concluded that the man sitting next to him ordered that assassination. So that is where we are on that. But I think, you know, when you take a step back, what we saw today is the complex and tricky relationship that the United States has and always has had with Saudi Arabia. With different administrations, with Biden, with Obama, they found it much harder to get close to Saudi Arabia, although they wanted to, because they had their values and they saw them, you know, Saudi Arabia's human rights record as a problem. Trump, though, doesn't. He's upfront about it. He said, look, we need Saudi Arabia. We need their money. The way they deal with their own lives, that's up to them. I'm not bothered about that. I just want their investment. He's upfront about that, and he hopes that he will get that. That's what this visit is all about. It's money, money, money. And for his base, who might be worried that he's perhaps losing his way, that's the message to them. Don't worry. It's important to get the prince into the White House because he'll give us his money.
Mark, updating us there. Thank you. Well, for months, Donald Trump has opposed the demands to release in full the Epstein files presumed to contain the names of some very senior and prominent people, including his own. But as the scale of the revolt from within his own party grew, he did an about turn. And tonight, the House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly to force the release of the files. It now goes to the Senate and then to Mr. Trump himself. Well, fresh from fending off questions about the Saudi Crown Prince, Mr. Trump again showed his anger tonight as the same journalist, ABC's Mary Bruce, asked why he didn't just release the files in full himself. Here's our US correspondent, James Matthews.
This is who you're fighting for. This is who Congress is fighting for. This is who the House of Representatives are fighting for.
This was me at 14 years old. I was 16.
16.
14.
Only 14.
At 17 years old.
They came to Capitol Hill with searing testimony, the centre of this story.
What's the message today, do you think?
It's going to be a powerful one.
To the President of the United States of America, who is not here today, I want to send a clear message to you. I am traumatized. I am not stupid.
It could be your daughter. It could be your niece. It could be a friend's kids.
You didn't just make a small dent. You made a monumental impact.
Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein told their stories against a shifting political backdrop. Listen to the friend turned enemy of Donald Trump, the MAGA loyalist he now calls traitor.
He called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me.
On a landmark day at Congress, the president was confounded outside and inside. This was the vote Donald Trump had long resisted. Republicans from his party backed a near unanimous vote to release the Epstein files. Across Washington, Donald Trump was welcoming Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi Crown Prince. If the Epstein vote was something he didn't want to see, it was the question he didn't want to hear.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
Back on Capitol Hill, Donald Trump wasn't the only former Epstein associate in the frame. What do you say today to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew?
I do think that Prince Andrew does need to come and testify at our oversight committee, and that can be bipartisan. But I share Thomas's view that the urgency that the British people have shown in getting justice needs to inspire an urgency here in America.
This was a significant step in the politics of justice. In this modern American scandal, it won't be the last.
And James joins us live now. This really is a moment, James. The Senate Republican leader suggesting they will try to pass this quickly. When might this be? And what are we finally expected to see here?
Hi, Anna. Yeah, well, it could be as soon as today, actually. John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, has said that he is inclined to try to get it through the Senate. They will be sifting through the practicalities of that, if it can be done. And it would appear that the Republicans are making a show of speed in this matter. Then it could be that it's on President Trump's desk pretty quickly, possibly today. We still await confirmation, but it will land on his desk in the White House. He has said he will sign it, and that should be that, notwithstanding the concerns of some of his opponents and critics. They reckon that this DOJ, Department of Justice investigation into Democrat associates of Jeffrey Epstein, opponents reckon that could constrict or restrict the content of the documents that are made available. And that is a worry for them. They reckon that Trump might say, look, it's an active investigation, therefore we can't tell you what's in all of the documents. So that's a concern. But we should see documents in some shape or form released, and that will answer the questions about A, what's in them, and why has Donald Trump been trying so hard to stop their release? How much worse could it get for him and for others? But today, Anna, it was all about the survivors. I was at Capitol Hill with them, a very powerful demonstration, I thought, for what it means to them, not so much the politics, but the justice of it all. You know, it's not about politics, it's about their life, their suffering, and for them, it's everything.
James, live for us there in Washington. Thank you. We're back here now, and MI5 has warned that operatives linked to the Chinese intelligence service are seeking to recruit people inside Parliament. The warning from the security service was issued to MPs, peers and parliamentary staff about two named women who operate online as headhunters. The Chinese embassy says the allegations are pure fabrication and malicious slander. Our political correspondent, Mari Aurora, has more.
Behind a year of niceties between Westminster and Beijing, serious security concerns from the heart of the Chinese state. Not for the first time this year, we're talking about allegations of spying within Westminster backed by the Chinese government. This time, a stark warning direct from MI5. In a letter to parliamentary staff, Common Speaker Lindsay Hoyle warns the Chinese Ministry of State Security is actively reaching out to individuals in our community. Their aim is to collect information and lay the groundwork for long-term relationships. The alert explicitly accuses two people, Amanda Chiu and Shirley Shen, of posing as headhunters on LinkedIn to reach out to people in Parliament. Both have been approached for comment.
That job is...
The government warns the threat extends beyond parliamentarians.
Let me speak plainly. This activity involves a covert and calculated attempt by a foreign power to interfere with our sovereign affairs in favour of its own interests. And this government will not tolerate it.
The government has reacted with fresh measures. New funding for security programmes, briefings for political parties and election candidates, and working with recruitment sites like LinkedIn to clamp down on spying. But the opposition says the government should be tougher.
It can impose sanctions, it can cancel propaganda visits to China, and it can put the Chinese Communist Party in the enhanced tier. When they do any of these, we will be here and ready to help.
A spokesperson for the Chinese embassy dismissed the allegations as pure fabrication and malicious slander, adding, "We urge the UK side to immediately stop this self-staged charade of false accusations and self-aggrandizement, and stop going further down the wrong path of undermining China-UK relations." These fresh allegations come weeks after the collapse of the case into two men accused of spying for China around Westminster, accusations both men continue to deny. And repeatedly delayed plans for a Chinese super embassy in central London have become a flashpoint in the discussion around UK-China relations. With a decision due next month, China has warned of consequences if a decision continues to be pushed back. Experts warn this is not just a Westminster problem.
We know from previous cases that tens of thousands of people are being approached right across the UK economy. So it's not even especially Parliament, it's actually more likely to be businesses, and businesses are very much more exposed, more susceptible.
The government is walking a tightrope between wanting to look tough on China and keeping trade doors open with an economic superpower. But with repeated allegations like this, MPs are mounting pressure on the government to take bigger steps, as far as labelling China a national security threat. With future diplomatic visits to Beijing not off the table, allegations of spying only serve to hinder the relationship between the two nations. Mari Aurora, Sky News.
Across Europe, hundreds of thousands of women live with the consequences of female genital mutilation, or FGM. In the UK alone, more than 87,000 FGM-related medical cases have been recorded since 2015. But reconstruction surgery remains unavailable on the NHS, forcing women to seek help abroad or to live in silence and in shame. Well, Sky News has been granted unprecedented access to an operating theatre in Geneva, where one of the world's leading surgeons performs this surgery. Our health correspondent, Ashish Joshi, has followed a woman living in Switzerland as she embarks on her own life-changing journey, and a warning that you may find some of the descriptions in his report distressing.
Professor Jasmine Abdul-Qadir is performing surgery. But to her patient, this is more than just a medical procedure. It's the most important part of a long journey to help overcome deep trauma inflicted on her as a young child. The patient is a woman in her late 30s to mid-40s. As a young girl, she was subjected to female genital mutilation.
There are several types of female genital mutilation, so the tissues involved might be diverse. It can be the labia, the clitoris, and the cutting might be more or less severe. So there are different types of surgeries.
This patient has had type 3 FGM, infibulation. It's the most severe form, where all or part of the external female genitalia has been removed. The vaginal opening has been sewn shut, or the scar tissue has fused together after being cut. These cases require de-infibulation or reopening.
Voila. It means to avoid suffering when they pee, when they have period, in their daily life, when they study, when they work, when they take care of their families.
Her vaginal passage was partially reopened in the past, probably during childbirth.
Sensitive nerves, but that have also branches of the cavernous nerves.
Today, she has chosen to undergo clitoral reconstruction.
We have patients that might not be interested in reconstruction, that they already feel well, sexually healthy, and other patients that suffer from severe trauma, that are unhappy with their body image, and so they will ask for reconstruction. Some of them will go for surgery, some others will not go for surgery.
Every girl who came in came out crying, screaming. I didn't want to go in, but they forced me, and when I went in, she cut me with a blade. I jumped from the pain. All the girls were crying. I didn't want to, but they forced me.
This is one of Professor Abdul-Qadir's patients. Jamila, that's not her real name, is still recovering after undergoing FGM reconstruction surgery last month.
I was angry because I was just a child. I always think about it. It's something that never leaves you. You think about it all the time.
Professor Abdul Qadir's team see between 20 to 30 FGM survivors a month here at Geneva's University Hospital. Not all of them will opt for reconstructive surgery, but the ones who do can access it on the country's healthcare system. FGM reconstruction surgery is available across Europe, including here in Switzerland, as well as in clinics in France and in Germany. But in the UK, the procedure is not available on the NHS, meaning many British FGM survivors must travel abroad for help. The demand for the surgery in the UK is growing.
We do find women coming to our clinic saying they want reconstruction surgery, and we have to say, sorry, we don't offer it here. Some of them will seek out going to have it done in another country, perhaps, which is obviously very costly. And some of them don't manage to get any support for that.
A parliamentary committee warned that FGM survivors face shame and humiliation when trying to access care. It's called on the NHS to provide reconstruction surgery.
In an ideal situation, it would be available to everybody on everybody's doorstep.
Can we put a timeline on it?
I would want to see that as soon as possible. I want GPs to have better understanding of FGM and reconstructive surgery. I want people to know that this is still an issue for so many women within our communities.
The Department for Health and Social Care told Sky News the NHS runs FGM clinics which provide healthcare services and emotional and psychological support for victims. We're also facilitating further research into the effectiveness of reconstructive surgery for FGM survivors through the National Institute for Health and Care Research. FGM reconstruction surgery cannot erase the violence or the pain, but it can offer something many survivors feared they would never have. And that is the chance to reclaim their bodies after a lifetime of trauma. Ashish Joshi, Sky News in Geneva, Switzerland.
Israeli officials say one man has been killed and 3 others wounded after a ramming and stabbing attack in the West Bank. A 15-year-old boy and a 40-year-old woman are among those injured and taken to hospital. The Israeli military says soldiers killed 2 people who carried out the attack and found explosive materials in their vehicle. Lebanese officials say 13 people have died in an Israeli airstrike on a Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. The Lebanese Health Ministry said the drone strike hit a car close to a mosque on the outskirts of the city of Sidon. The Israeli military said it struck a training centre for Hamas, which was preparing an attack on the Israeli army. The government of Poland says it suspects 2 Ukrainians working for Russia were behind explosions on a railway line linking the Polish capital with the Ukrainian border. The blasts happened yesterday on the route which is used to transport aid into Ukraine. The Kremlin has denied that Russia was involved. Now, the Princess of Wales has been addressing business leaders in her first speech since she was diagnosed with cancer last year. Catherine reflected on the importance of love, urging firms to consider time and tenderness as much as productivity and success.
Every one of you interacts with your own environment, a home, a family, a business, a workforce, a community. These are the ecosystems that you yourselves help to weave. Imagine a world where each of these environments were built on valuing time and tenderness just as much as productivity and success. As business leaders, you'll face the daily challenge of finding a balance between profitability and having a positive impact. But the two are not and should not be incompatible. At the Centre for Early Childhood, we believe that we must do all we can to create the conditions for love to flourish. That is how we invest in our future.
Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll be taking a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, joined by the journalist and broadcaster, Jenny Kleeman, and the Times columnist and leader writer, Sebastian Payne. Welcome to both of you. And among the stories, we'll be discussing this on the front page of The Telegraph. Its headline, Britain is not ready to defend itself against an invasion. Back with that and plenty more after this break.